Well, hello everyone. This is Medicine Walk with Dr. Eileen, and it is also Blog Talk Radio or Healing House Radio with Dr. Eileen. And we're broadcasting on both, and it's so good to meet with everyone and see everyone again. And I do notice that there is a caller in, so the number is from the LA area. So if I glance over here, it's because I've got my other laptop going. And welcome, whoever it is that's listening in by phone. And while I won't be able to, if you have a question, I won't be able to respond to it on the air because I'm live streaming at the same time. But I did note down your number, and I'll be happy to give you a call after the show, just in case you had any questions or comments. So thank you for joining me, and thank you for joining me. So today, today's walk is really based on a few different things that have been happening. One, someone who was really close to me passed away. And I really will miss this person. And it's interesting because one of the things that can happen that when somebody is going through something, especially something like grief, that it can create reactions in other people. And they may be very well-intended reactions, and they may be from that place of really wanting to see you feel better. And I posted yesterday on Twitter that when dealing with someone in grief, you have to remember that there's nothing you can say that will make it better. And also that grief is sacred. It is an appropriate and sacred response to loss. And you can't change your process of grieving. The best you can do if you're dealing with somebody in that situation is to just let them know you're there and to be present with them so that when they decide what they want or need, that they can let you know. And it's mostly about being present. And so, this was one of the topics, and the tweet that I did today has to do with the fact that, you could say that you're feeling down, and immediately someone might respond with, well, you need to feel grateful, and all of these things, and all of the catchphrases and the terms, and do positive affirmations and all of that. Those are all wonderful things. And at the same time, you could tell somebody you're feeling great, and they will list down all the reasons why you should be afraid, why you should be miserable, because things are horrible and they're going to get worse, and all of this other stuff. And it reaches a point where we have to decide for ourselves how we want to choose to be in each and every moment. And by making that choice, it actually can lead to such a sense of empowerment that even if you're going through something tough and you go, you know what? I'm at a point now where I'm not feeling very grateful. I'm not feeling very blessed. And maybe you're going through some things that you don't feel blessed in this moment. Because the most important thing to be is authentic with each and every moment that you have and each and every feeling that's in that moment. Maybe you're feeling down now, and it doesn't mean that you're going to be feeling down tomorrow. It doesn't mean that you won't, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily will. And if you can be real in the moment that you're in, and if you have people around you that can let you be real in each and every moment that you're in, it allows that moment to become something that just is a part of the flow. And maybe in an hour, you'll feel different. Maybe you just need to have a good cry. Maybe you need to scream into a pillow for a few minutes. Maybe you need to stomp around your room with the door closed and just have your own little personal rant. Or you need to have somebody who will just sit and listen and go, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm there with you, and then allow you to work through the process on your own. And that can be one of the hardest things, is when somebody is going through something, to let them walk that road that they need to walk. Let them circle it a few times, because if they do, they will ultimately find their own answer. They will ultimately get the answer to their own question. I mean, and sometimes it's tricky, and sometimes professional help may be needed, or different types of help. I spend a lot of time doing, sort of counseling, and mostly just listening to people, allowing them to have a space where they can safely say the things they need to say. They can safely vent. I'm not going to try to change them or to give them tools that they haven't asked me for. Because sometimes the best thing that you can do for somebody is just give a listen and let them work it out, and let them decide for themselves what it is that they want to do or need to do. Maybe they just need somebody present while they talk themselves into something that's kind of scary for them. Or maybe they just need to have a space where they can talk about the grief of a loss without someone trying to either fix it and get them to feel better. Because there's really, and when somebody is in that place of like real grief, there's nothing that can be said. I remember when, with the deaths in my family, my father, my mother, my sister. And I remember that there were a lot of people who really love me and really care about me. And they wanted to see me better. It hurt them to see me hurting. And they wanted to be able to say something. And sometimes what they said was like, really? Really? I remind myself that they meant well. And there's some kind of traditional things that, people often say. They're in a better place. They're out of pain. And most of the time, what you're saying is something that the other person really already knows. The person who's grieving knows that. And yet, they're grieving that personal loss within themselves. And that sometimes take time. What we go through and the things that happen to us and the things that impact us most are not attached to a calendar. If something really big happens to you, it may take you a little time to process it. If it's the passing of a family member or of someone you care about, that can take a long time. Because, yes, there are the 5 stages of grief, and we don't necessarily go through that once. You may get all the way to acceptance, and then you hit that person's birthday, in what I call the year of firsts. So you have, like the first birthday, the first holiday, the first, if it's a parent, the first either Mother's Day or Father's Day. And it ultimately goes back to the first anniversary of that person passing. And there's all kinds of little triggers that can happen through that. You may reach the point, okay, I've accepted, and then something happens, or you hear a song, or you see a movie. For me, it was, I'd notice a movie coming out, and I'd immediately think, oh wow, that'd be a cool movie to go with my sister to. And then I'd remember she's gone. And so it doesn't hit me the same as it did then, but I can't say that it doesn't hit me in some way. It's a very soft, very gentle sort of hit. And it's like, oh, okay, and then I'll send out a thought to her. Hey, Angie, I hope you're doing really well. I know you're having a lot of fun. I just miss you. And that's okay. It's okay to allow someone to go through that whole process. And sometimes, and it may not even be a loss of that nature. It may just be, you are saying you're not happy Oh, there it goes again. But are we still live? Okay, if you're watching and you're near a computer, do me a favor and log into the chat and let me know whether or not it's still broadcasting, because it looks here like it is not. Hold on, let me turn the camera on. Okay. Well, it looks like we're okay. All kinds of interesting things that happen with live video. And, well, life happens. Everything happens. And we deal with stuff the best way we know how. And all we can do is deal with stuff the best way we know how. And we can think, well, if I had only known then what I know now. The thing is that if if you hadn't gone through the process of learning it, the only reason you know it now was because you didn't know it then, and you made the mistakes and you went through whatever it is that you wanted to go through. So allow that people mean well. And it's important to remember that you have choice. You decide what you're going to do. Someone may be telling you what they think you should do, but that's not necessarily right for you. That's not necessarily what is a part of your path. And your path is the path that matters. It's that aspect of it that is, really very sacred. I mean, we're all doing the best we can to walk through this life. We're all doing the best we can with the tools we have. And somebody else may have a different perspective on what it is that would be best. And I'm sure that, if they're coming from the perspective of someone that they really care about you and they want you to be happy, you have to be happy according to your desire and according to what you feel is right and according to what you are called to. I mean, maybe you are called to, go join a circus, or maybe you're called to go live in a foreign country, or maybe you're called to, just uproot your whole life and try something different. Or maybe you're called to not do any of those things. Just because someone thinks that it's the best thing for you doesn't necessarily mean that it is. All of us have to decide within ourselves what it is that gives us a sense of purpose. What is it that gives us a sense of fun? What is it that allows us to think, man, that was kind of cool, or that's something new I'd like to learn, or that's something new I'd like to try. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you choose. All that matters is that it's your choice. And if you're going through a tough time and you're kind of feeling a little bit of pressure to do something, first off, I'm very sorry you're going through a tough time. And, I hope the absolute best for you. And often it's those tough times that really help us to see the world in a bigger way. But when you're in it, it is just lousy. It's like my saying, life is fun until it isn't, and it sucks until it doesn't. And no matter how fun it is, at some point it's going to suck. And no matter how much it sucks, at some point it's going to be fun again. The trick is just letting yourself flow through each experience and then open yourself up to the next one. We're not all going to get it right. Maybe somebody will give you some advice and you don't follow it and you realize you should have. Okay. And it's just as easy that, maybe somebody gives you advice and it ends up taking you in a wrong direction. Ultimately, you choose, you decide, you embrace the fact that you have every right to decide. And, it's not about, wisdom is not necessarily connected to age. I mean, I've been on this planet for, 55 years now, technically 56 because you celebrate your birthday at the end of that year, but let's not go into that. But the idea is that I've lived a very long time. And if I've learned nothing else, it's that there is way more to learn. There's way more to know. There's way more to experience. There are more perspectives on things than I'm aware of. And the more I learn, the more I realize, the less I know. What I offer, what I am doing here each week is just sharing a moment with you and hoping that maybe something I experienced will be helpful. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm not about becoming anybody's guru. I'm not about, giving any impression that I have any better clue on, the intricacies of life than anyone else does. I've just experienced some things, and I really like sharing those experiences, because if it in some way relates, if it in some way helps something to make sense, then that means that you have more information to make your own choice. I would never want to make a choice for anyone. It's when my sons were small, of course, as a mother, then I had to make a choice for them. But even as a chiropractor, I can't make a choice for someone. I can't, I can give them my best recommendation. I can say, well, if you do this, this, and this, it will probably improve your back pain. That person can choose whether or not to do it. And if they're not going to, I'd rather them tell me they're not going to, so that way I can figure out something else. If somebody says it's that, well, nope, I'm not gonna give up bungee jumping. Okay. So if you're gonna bungee jump, here's the way you can take care of it that will let you bungee jump, but it will also support, your back feeling better. See, I'd rather have people tell me what it is that they're going to do, and then I can give them the best advice to work around that. It's not about me telling anybody what to do. I am so not qualified for that. I'm still working through my own stuff. And so are you. And you have wisdom. And I don't care how old you are. You may be 100 years old, or, I've met some young kids who say the wisest things, and they notice things. It's like, wow, that's a really interesting perception. That's a really cool thing that you notice. And I like to give people credit that it's not about your age. It's about your life experience. It's about your connection. So if somebody's giving you advice, and it's somebody whose advice you can trust, I would say, yeah, go ahead and consider that. And still base it on your decision to follow that advice, or your decision not to. And I would hope that if this person really understands you, then they will understand that you have free choice, that you need to walk your path the way that you walk it. And that's okay. That's the best part of our humanity, is our ability to walk that road less traveled, and to make our own path, and to figure it out and make mistakes, and be able to do that and be supported in what we're doing, and for you to be supported in what you're doing. And whether it's you're grieving, or you're trying to make a decision about, a change either in a relationship, or in your job, or where you live, maybe it just, the world just doesn't feel quite right, quite in balance. You can't quite feel settled. Usually, I know for me, when I start feeling that, it means that, well, maybe I need an adventure. Maybe I need to go do something I haven't done before. Maybe I need to go someplace I haven't been before. Maybe I need to sit and think about, wow, what is it that I'm feeling called to? Am I feeling called to go to the beach, or am I feeling called to go sit on a mountain? Or maybe I'm called to, find out about a new indigenous ceremony, Or maybe I'm called to sit and read a book or take a class or learn a language. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can do, but do so because you choose it. Do so or not do something. Maybe it's, everybody wants to go and take a trip whitewater rafting, and you really are not feeling it. That it's like, I really don't see that as a good time, hurtling down a river filled with rocks at high speed in a boat. And maybe that's not your thing. And maybe you've got that, that adventurous friend who's saying, oh my gosh, we have to do this. Oh, come on, you have to do this. Suck it up. You need to do this. Well, it could be interesting. I mean, heck, I skydived once, and it was a very special reason, kind of a sort of an empowerment thing. But I would not have done it just because somebody said, oh my gosh, you have to do this. I thought about it, and it's like, no, that's something I want to do. That is, I need a leap of faith. So that was my leap of faith. But whatever it is you decide to do, whether it's to sit somewhere quietly and just kind of watch life go by for a little while to observe, or if it's, jumping out and getting in the parade, that's for you to decide. And no one should be making that choice for you, because ultimately you're the one who has to live with the consequences, either, pleasant consequences or not so much. But it's your life. You get to do that. You get to decide it. You get to embrace it in whatever way you want. Because if you do things just because other people think it's a good idea, and maybe for you it doesn't really resonate, it makes it difficult to really learn what you need to learn from it. Sometimes, it is empowering just to go out and say yes. And sometimes it's even more empowering to say, you know what? No, thank you. And realize that no is a complete sentence. No, thank you is a very polite, complete sentence. You don't have to justify why you don't want to do something. Just like technically you don't have to justify why you want to do something. If it feels right, it feels right. And, go at it as safely as you can. Find out, okay, if I want to try skydiving, and believe me, there's a lot of people who would not support that decision. In fact, I didn't tell anybody until afterwards. I told my sons like the day before I was going to do it. But the idea that I didn't want to deal with people saying, oh my gosh, all of these horrible things could happen, and this could happen, and this could happen. Yeah, they could. And I made a choice. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I made that choice. I'm glad I took that leap of faith, because it fundamentally changed a lot of things about me. And it was very empowering and a little bit scary. And if you're going to try it, wear earplugs, because the main thing about it was that my ears hurt because of the changes in altitude. But it really was an amazing experience. Now, will I do it again? I don't know. Because in that moment, that was the decision that I made to fulfill something within me. And you can decide whatever it is that fulfills something in you. And as we come to the end of another year, and 2017 is quickly coming to a close, and oh my gosh, I still cannot believe that we're just a couple of weeks away from December. Well, think about what it is that you would like to bring into the new year, what it is that you're dealing with. If you're in grief, and I my heart goes out to you if you're in grief, and know that I'm very, very sorry, and I wish you the absolute best. And I just, I'm sorry. I could say, well, it'll get better. And because I know that in the grief that I've been through, ultimately it got better. But you already know that. You already know that eventually it's going to get better. It just hurts. It hurts right now. And if it hurts right now, allow yourself to just experience that. Grief is not where you get stuck. Grief is actually the doorway out. It's the doorway out of the shift that you're experiencing. So allow yourself to experience it, and, get help if you feel you need it. Reach out. It's okay. And don't let anyone else decide what your grief should look like. Don't let anyone decide what your life change should look like. Don't let someone else's fear, no matter how well intended, prevent you from doing something that you really want to do, something that you feel called to. And don't allow someone else's enthusiasm for what they believe will be a wonderful thing for you to influence you into doing something that really doesn't feel right. This is all about choice. It's all about the ability to decide. And ultimately, that decision is yours and no one else's. And the more often that you claim that right to claim your choice, you find that, one, you have a tendency to start making better choices. You embrace the fact that you trust your choices. And that's a cool thing, because that means we're growing. That means that we're gaining. That means that we're embracing and moving forward and becoming the person that we always wanted to be. Someone who's not afraid to choose. Someone who's not afraid to walk that path less traveled. Or maybe someone who is perfectly content to stay who they are and where they are and what they're doing, and isn't afraid to say, you know what, you go have fun. I am very content to sit here and do a puzzle, or to, watch a wonderful movie or read a wonderful book. Decide for yourself what it is that you want each day to be. Decide for yourself that if you're going through a tough time, that somebody can sit and listen and hold that space for you, and trust that you know what you're doing, because you do. Trust your gut. Trust your inner voice. Trust your guidance. And if it doesn't turn out the way that you thought it was going to, well, maybe that's the lesson. Maybe that's the gift in all of it. But trust. And then you decide. So thank you for joining me. I will be back again next Thursday. And, well, I hope everyone has an absolutely wonderful week. You can like this video. You can share it. You can subscribe. And if you would like to comment, or if there's a topic you'd like me to explore, then please let me know. And if you are on Blog Talk Radio, then you can leave a comment with the video. And if you would like me to contact you, I will be happy to do so. You can also reach me through my Facebook page, which is Medicine Walk with Dr. Eileen. And you can follow me on Twitter. Just look up Dr. Eileen. So until next time, I wish you balance, and I wish you blessings. From my heart to yours. Love you. Bye.